for that purpose, for those of you who don't have friends like me. Bit of a different plane, finally, as we get into Game 15, our last of this event on Miramar, which means FaZe's problems might finally vanish by that virtue alone. It's an eastern plane. We haven't seen any that are going to force people outside of the center axis of the map.
Yeah, and this actually brings up a lot of problems for teams like FaZe, TeamGates, and Na'Vi that all loots on the very eastern side of the maps. So, if they wanted to go early, I mean, we saw TeamGates, they stayed in the blue the last game, they might keep that trend up.
Something to note, just very quickly, is a massive change of pace. So you already mentioned teams that want to loot on the west. Na'Vi is not going to go down to Villa Del Mar. They're going to give out and go immediately into Cruz de Vale. Now, the difference on that is that Penta's been changing every single drop so far. They have been up toward this position before, but not as far as the military base. Last game where it was a southern start on the plane, they actually went down beside Ghost, in where sort of just south of Leon, I guess you could say, around the cave area. They're just basically going in as quickly as you can, which kind of shows the inconsistencies of Miramar for some of these teams.
Oh, definitely, and it's a very new trend. It was, I don't think any of the European or the North American teams did it a lot before PGI, but it's very common for the Chinese teams. The two best in China right now is OMG and 4AM, and they don't have fixed drop positions. So maybe they've been trying to copy from the Asian regions.
You know what would throw a spanner in the works right now? A massive northwestern shift. Actually, I'd even go southwestern. Let's not go middle west anymore. We've had a lot of those. But either of those positions, based on the fact that pretty much everyone is on the east side of the map. FaZe finally getting up toward La Cabrera, but no one. Oh, okay, fair enough. We're gonna have another circle down. I'm not opposed to that. We just had an excellent game down there in that last circle.
But this is very bad for FaZe. It's bad for TeamGates. All those teams that are actually still making their way to the east, they're gonna have such a hard time. And like we saw in the last game, when it goes to that area of the map, you can't really use your cars that much because it's just one big hill and there's like 3 roads. Like it's even more scarce with the dirt roads. Like when you want to drive up a hill on like in most of the side of the map where it's bright, you can actually drive up those hills because there's good dirt roads and people are easy to see. But down in that southern area, it's so hard to actually utilize vehicles that the way that most of the people do at this level.
So Kumisera is where it's currently that SetToDestroyX are heading. Interesting that they're doing so because they played the last circle so well, getting into that second place spot and actually controlling a lot of the southern territory on the early shifts. You'd think that they'd be comfortable doing a similar strategy, but they will actually want to get out and try and get loot. Do we shift toward, do we finally get a city circle? Does this go toward Leon's? Because that's going to vacate after Moonwolf and M19 get their respective loot. Surely they're going to leave town.
The city circles is so strange to me because lately there's been a tendency that they always shift away from circles and they end up near roads. So if you want to look for in position here, you gotta think, I gotta find a compound or somewhere near the road that is not really close to a city. Don't get me wrong, I actually do enjoy city endings a lot and they're so much fun to play. But just with the tendencies with the circles as maybe the last 2 months, they never end up in cities.
Sure.
If there's a city in towards the late game, it always goes out of the city. So, I mean, they're so much fun to play, but
yeah,
sadly...
Well, absolutely, they're fun to play. I mean, the last one was semi, because we had a lot of buildings that they could still play around. Obviously, the gas station was the most prominent of which. But it is true to say that it doesn't actually get there toward the end of it. Now, that does limit us because, again, you talk about water. There's not much of it on this map, I should say. And the algorithm on the 4th circle, shifting away from that, we're already at about a 60% circle as it is of what's playable terrain. And then if you want to talk about, Leon's that whole north field where Rezu currently is for Lions, where Liquid is going to transition from when they leave Picado, that's a hard cross spot that no one really wants to claim and gamble on. If shift south from there, they have the hardest time, surely, to get down toward the hills.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely hard for these teams to come in. And Liquid currently in first place, nice, really close behind. FaZe, they're a little bit behind that, but after that, we're starting to see who's actually close and coming out ahead.
Yeah, well, and you know what? I agree with what Toffee said at the start of the day, that it may not be the point system per se that's making this close. It might be the fact that Miramar is throwing a cat amongst the pigeon, because FaZe was dominant yesterday on Erangel. They're struggling tremendously, and they still haven't had a convincing game. Even last time, walked into the gas station, little did they know Moonwolf was sitting inside of it, as they were for pretty much that entire duration. But it's giving teams like Liquid a chance to really close that gap. If we were all Erangel, I dare say after yesterday, FaZe might have just ran away.
I don't want to close any teams out because I know everybody has it in them. I know, but especially because we'd had 50% Miramar and FaZe's performance have been very lackluster. The first day was all right. They were getting the positions, but they wasn't necessarily getting the kills. But at least they managed to claw their way in. But yesterday was a catastrophe, and today, what did they get? Like 2, 9, 8, 7 places? Which is not enough if you want to stay in the top.
No, that's kind of the point. I mean, they're still in it, and absolutely don't rule them out as a contender until Game 6 is over. Game 6 of the day, I should say, Game 18 overall.
Yeah.
I just want to point out one thing in their positioning, though. 2 teams at the bottom who have combined for less kills than I think FaZe has overall, TG and Sengel. They've got both of those that they can transition past. Those are fights that you'd almost welcome at this point if you're FaZe. Obviously situational, but it's not going to threaten them, the fact that they know both those teams are in this northern region on the map, in that portion. They'll be fine with Cabrera, they'll be fine with rotating around. And the question is the transition they choose to go with, because obviously the roads through the middle toward that triangle, Bermuda Triangle, they said they aren't amazing to transition into. But again, if they know who's there for company, I would be confident to take a fight with Sengel and TG at this point in time if I'm FaZe.
That's the problem, though. Even though you know it's not the best teams on the server, taking these fights early, especially when you don't take them for, I want to say, ground in the circle. Like, if you fight outside the zone, where you have to fight them and then still move in towards the circle, you don't want to take those fights. Because, especially when you do a rotate, you don't have the information as to where all the players are. You can get caught off guard. Most of the people that actually make these LAN tournaments, they might not be the best team as a unit, and they know how to convince them in team fights, but individually, a lot of them actually know how to shoot. And even FaZe, they can get caught off guard by a team like TeamGates or Sengel.
Is Turtle considering that? He's driving down the beach toward where the crate was. I can't imagine he's going to swim that far. That's a lot of wasted time.
It looks like he's looking for a boat, because the boat spawns along the beach. I couldn't see why else he would be driving away from his team along the coastline.
That doesn't make much sense as a transition. I think you might be right. You might be onto it, because if he gets a boat, then he gets all the armor. He is turned around and starting to look in other directions. Now, I do want to point out early movement. Liquid, already done with Picado. It's quick to loot. They're quick at it. They've been there all weekend long, and they're already on the move. Leon's already vacated. We've got M19 heading slightly more south, and Vitality is going to make contact with Liquid heading by them. They'll spot all the cars. They'll try and focus the front. That'll discourage the other 3 and put them a little bit further south and away from Yannick, who had the line of sight. He'll try desperately with an AK, but good luck from that position. But Moonwolf as well. They're already actually into a split 3-1 situation, leaving from the eastern side of Leon. So again, even if that circle does go back there, and I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that it does, no one wants to be in it at this point in time. They're all getting out early, and it's interesting as well to see Liquid heading straight to the coast. They're basically going to play the water as safety and know that no one's going to be behind them.
They took the exact same spot they did in the last game, Saddle, and the same with Vitality. And I think most of these teams, one thing I'm noting out when I'm seeing the map is Andy, he split up, he's on his own. And I talked a little bit with him yesterday, and he said, all right, Moonwolf as a team, we haven't had the best tournament yet, but I'm here as a sub. I actually just want to shine out today and have a performance that can put me out as an individual. I don't know if this has anything to do with him being on his own, but maybe you want to try to get some solo performances in today that makes him shine as a player.
Put himself on the market. Get picked up.
Yeah, I mean, he has a team. He plays for Team Method.
Yeah, of course.
But maybe he just wants to, you know, you get credit if you do some crazy plays.
Vitality also on the move. You said they're playing in a similar position as to last time. Dignitas is going to be much sooner to the circle this game, as opposed to last time where they actually tried to poach off a few people heading in late.
Yeah. One tendency with Dignitas, they go late. Maybe the reason why they do for so long is because they want to have Boogie and a sniper. Because I've never seen Dignitas try to go early and try to go for census, but they always take their time looting. And, I mean, it paid off. He's one of the top fraggers, and he's been hitting some insane sniper shots throughout this entire tournament. I don't think we've had a game where we haven't seen Boogie light up the kill feed with a sniper.
No, there was a game, game 5 of yesterday, which would have been game 11 overall. Oh, look at O'Connell. He's got information. You can definitely see him. He wants a headshot, so there's no point firing into his vest at this point. But definitely eyes on Nova from above, and they could mobilize on this. It's early to anticipate a fight. We're at the 10-minute mark. We don't have to see early engagements on Miramar, but this is information nonetheless. He knows they're inside of that compound. They can position accordingly, and they'll start to transition. In fact, Andy's going to rejoin them by getting down in that position as well. But back to your point on Wookie, yesterday, it was actually beside Martin. I was sitting beside Avenger. He goes, man, Wookie hasn't got a kill yet this game. And I said, hang on. And then he just got like 3 immediately with a Mini 14. And it's like, I'm not done. Oh, look at the knock from James. 2 my gone already. That's Wildcard. And that's down toward the shore. So they're trying to push Liquid away from that roadside, force them back over. But the problem is that they now are locked out. That road and a transition away from water that is inevitable. They're in a really tight position this game. The low ground last time below the road almost was favorable because that road's so high, teams can cross it. But as soon as they get to the edge, they had all that firing range to basically basically waiting for the, as they said, wait for the gas station engagement to end, and then just position accordingly for anyone who was desperately going to be running toward that road cross position down toward the city, the last few buildings that we're in.
And yeah, as you said, the position Wildcard is in is not a spot you want to be in. You don't want Liquid looking at you. Team's currently the top fragger. He has the Car 98K. And he's, I mean, I don't want to compare him to Boogie, but they're both amazing players. And you see him getting the first knock here. FaZe, they finally made their way to the circle. TeamGates, they're moving a lot earlier than before. And SetToDestroyX also coming in late. You see Penta, they're making their way from the north. They're gonna try very close to Na'Vi here.
I think they might stay east of Impala. I don't... You're right. They certainly could get in behind Na'Vi, but if they stay a little more eastern and they try and hold that sort of north position just to across the road from Liquid, across from that gas station area, that cornered position, they'll be all right until the shift. But the question is, teams like SetToDestroyX rotating down. FaZe has already gone from the most northern position of any team on the map, above Cabrera, and rotating around. He's on Bookie. Not a sniper this time. M4, he'll fire immediately toward Vitality and Knights players in transition. Now he'll pull out his M24 that he seems to have every single game. No silencer this time. And for what it's worth, a 6 times versus an 8. I did see, by the way, Wacky Jackie put out a poll yesterday asking what people's preference for scope was. I was a bit surprised to see that it was like 58% in favor of the 6 times.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, if you have an 8 times, it only fits on your sniper rifle. And when you have a sniper rifle such as the Car 98K or the M24, you need to have an assault rifle where you can also put on the scope. And if you don't have a 4 times or 6 times in your bag, you're really limited, right? So you have the red dot on the assault rifle and only the 8x in the sniper rifle.
That's a decent second zone shift.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that, as Shadow gets knocked, but Vitality is immediately all over him. The problem is, so too is Dignitas taking advantage of that positional gain. They'll start to move up a little bit, having already suppressed them, so watch for Adam getting over the hill behind. But the point of this shift is the fact that it's already gone away from water makes it less predictable later on. So there's going to be a little bit of luck of positioning, I think, in this, and it does encourage me to think Leones could be part of this.
And Los Leones can definitely be part of the playstyle here. You might not see it in the first circle, but in the circle 2 for now, people have to crash into Los Leones. And we see Uber.
That's the first kill gone.
He is an amazing player on these long-range shots. You see him every game.
And he's not usually using he's usually using a DMR at that point. So it's Mini 14, first kill already in. And it is by way of Uba, and it's Knights that lose Voxic, a good sniper in his own right. Further engagements, though, it's going to be Nova, Purdy getting involved immediately, Moonwolf responding, but it's still an interesting exchange between the two of them because this invites Ghost to have center position at the top of the hill to get all the information as to the Leon's position. And you're right, it does invite the playstyle because M19 is going to swing in and hold the backside of the town, hoping that if it shifts that direction, they'll be gatekeeping everyone. Purdy, he's got Nedakuz down. Knocked, but not out of it. Andy, meanwhile, has position behind a tree and is trying with a lovely SKS to get shots to suppress inside of that house. We know that they spotted them earlier. Remember, O'Connell was sitting and watching them forever, so it was a matter of time before they decided to take the engagement.
Yeah, you can really argue, is this fight worth anything? Because they're never going to breach each other. They're using ammo, they're using meds, they're using body armor. I mean, when you want to take shots, you want to hit those bullets.
I think the biggest advantage to this fight, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but Moonwolf engaging puts Nova in that house, and everyone now knows they're there.
That is true. But, like, I don't know, at least for me as a player, I tend not to take these fights. Boogie.
Ooh, he's got a taste of his own medicine. Balak from ages away on a Mini 14 catches him out trying to peek over top of the hill, and Boogie's gone. Our long-range sniper, well, speak and jinx him, I suppose. You said, Larson, when was the last game that he didn't have kills at range? Well, this game is exactly when. He's the second player eliminated, putting Dignitas already down to 3.
This hurts me as a Danish person. Balak is Danish, Boogie is Danish. I don't want to see them fighting. I want to see them both at the top.
World peace, that's all you want.
No, I mean, everybody else can battle, but the Danes got to stay together. There's not that many of us.
James taking fire from Knights, I believe that was, toward the top of the hill. Everyone is transitioning. No one's convinced by Leones. I don't mind M19's positioning here because, all right, look, if it doesn't go their way, fair play, look, it's going to snake in anyway, right? Just send one player as a snake. But if it goes that direction, they can hold that whole portion of the circle. I'm going to say Nova's most likely to be central. Obviously, that's pretty central as it is already. But if that even shifts toward the city, and SetToDestroyX is doing the same gamble.
I want to point out how M19 is playing these cities because they're actually the team that plays the cities the most. But they play at the very edge of the city, towards the side of the zone where it's closer to the center. because, like I said, there's a tendency they can go to the cities, but towards the end it always goes away, and then they're sitting at that part of the city where it's most likely to stay in for the longest part, and then they can gatekeep everybody else in the city, rack off a ton of kills, save their vehicles, and then scout a safe place further in the zone that they can move into later. And they've been consistently doing this. And I mean, we saw one game in Pecado where it worked out really well for them.
That's a good point. It works both ways, because I was thinking the transition toward the city, but then if it does happen and it goes back out, they're in a perfect position to catch that as well. Biggest swing so far, Sangal, they've gone all the way around La Bandita, around Impala, down the coastline, just getting some sun along the beach, and then they'll swing back toward the middle. Interesting position at that southern side that no one's really occupying yet. Wildcard's going to fire into them on the way by, and not really much of a defense, as Saxes is trying to climb up and get toward the compound. Thankfully for his sake, Kickstart's run out of ammo and had to reload no sooner than he just barely gets toward the crest of the hill.
That's also like the problem with the TMRs. They don't have as many bullets as the assault rifles, so when you take shots against vehicles, they're not as favorable. But you don't need
here
as
we
many
go.
bullets. There we
Look
go.
at the circle.
That's the zone I like. This is gonna be a very tense ending. There's not that much room to move within the city. FaZe is sitting super comfortable here. This hill is so good to gatekeep people that have to leave eventually.
Penta knows it. They were trying to move. Knights caught them. They're going to try and hold off this truck as a bit of coverage, as Krama's going to put smokes down both in front of it and behind it. He can easily get back in the driver's seat and start to mobilize, but Penta wants to pin them and keep them honest. Liquid's going to swing high on this. They want to avoid that fight. They can hear it. Knights are trying to desperately bail out of it. But meanwhile, this becomes massive for M19. As you say, they can hold the edge of that city. Everyone's going to be working toward them in some capacity. FaZe is already in trouble as well, because SetToDestroyX, took the initiative to try and get the southern point of Leon's. And FaZe realizing that, I will say though, top side of that hill, you can see so far from up there.
If anybody has to leave the city, you can almost see it all. So I actually like the spot that FaZe and Moonwolf, and we see Liquid. They're doing the rotation, they're running into Vitality.
Oh, Ibby. He's going to be the one that's cut off. Yannick, he ran directly toward them. He's aware of it. Did he get the tire? Not quite. He's got to reload him. And Ibby's just barely going to go. Oh, I say that, and he catches him. I was going to say, get away. Ibby's gone. I don't think they turn around for that. Let him be.
That's the danger of driving a buggy. I mean, you don't often have a choice, but if you lose the tire, you're so vulnerable.
And we might have third partying toward Na'Vi. They want to push out to TG, but Moonwolf top of the hill. Ghost is also engaged by Nova, trying to work in the backside. They've got kills going either way, and Adam, he gets Drainy down and removed. That's one player gone already for Na'Vi. Adam with the first kill for Dignitas. Remember, they lost Wookie Bookie very early on. He has by far and large been their top fragger. Adam's been stable. And they're going to try and take the tires out. O'Connell's being annoying, isn't he? Everyone that he sees from range, he just wants to pick at them. We saw the same thing for Nova in the building. Now he's taking all the tires off the vehicles for Na'Vi, and that's going to force Na'Vi to run toward M19 when it is time to move.
But it is very essential to take these tires, because if they have to leave eventually, it's so much easier to do with the vehicles. If not, they have to create a smoke wall, but they're so far between the mountain and the city.
Vitality's driving directly toward Krama, and I think they've just popped out of the vehicle. I thought they might engage. That's northern side. Meanwhile, Nova still in the circle, still inside of the building, still taking shots from range, as Ghost is in a bit of a pinch as well, because Nova's not only pushing Moonwolf back up the ridge, but they've spotted them. McCoy in transition is going to try and hold them off, as O'Connell, he's investigating. He hears all that noise to the south. Now, the one transition FaZe have to watch out for, and I actually love what they're doing. Not only do they have that hill, they're saying, all right, we want to see the city. We need to hold the north side of the hill. FaZe are aware, though, that with the transition from the south, that's the quickest means in which anyone can breach them. So Jempty, he'll watch it above the cave, so no one can come out directly below him. And Haxity's just watching for the road in case anyone swings behind them. So all they're playing for, I don't think they'll engage, is information.
It is information, and also making sure nobody can run up upon them. And it's a really good point. It's something we've been lacking from them a lot, I feel like, throughout this tournament, is having the confidence to take these 2-2 splits where you're like, all right, our players, if anybody else comes, we can hold them back until we get reinforcements. And also show the confidence that they're not afraid to take these fights. And it means so much, because if it goes anywhere south, they have control over it all, and they can move anywhere.
Exactly. It controls the key. Good shot. O'Connell is looking sharp this game, only with one kill, but again, he's getting tons of information. Moonwolf's had excellent positioning, and now he's doing further damage. Profi's gone from Ghost. They have been a team yesterday that was fantastic on this map. I think they and Liquid had the best movement, best reads of the lay of the land, how the map sort of functions. You can see teams kind of are Hail Mary on this. They're driving as fast as they can to get to a position without really thinking about the consequences of doing so. But today, Ghost has been caught out, and it hasn't been as successful for them. Maybe Frost was right by putting them in the trash earlier. Maybe that was an analogy a little harsh.
They're a very consistent team. They have better rotation than most teams, but this game they're getting caught off guard. O'Connell takes down Mikoi, and it's only Turtle left. He's far away in the zone.
Wait. He can't even get there.
I need to take this back. I said it never ends in cities, and look at this zone.
This is unreal. And look at the motion because of it. Suddenly everyone's scurrying for a corner of the map. Liquid's in the main road in front of the embassy. They do not have immediate cover. M19 heading toward the construction in the south. The TG's position, that's a wild zone. In those little alleys, the nooks and crannies among all those buildings. And look at it, everyone wants dead center. If they're gonna take the city, they want the exact middle of it. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of town, it's gonna be Penta engaged by Sengel. Kate's got the first kill. He'll take down BSD as well. 2 knocks, and he's gonna follow up and takes BSD completely out of the picture, knowing that they're in behind the car looking for reses. He's gonna swing as well, and Chronix will get positioned above the rock to try and hold it. And in they go. Down goes Sengel, and they are eliminated in 16th place.
But yeah, it is important when you're in the city, you want to take the center because it gets harder and harder to move. We see, James got taken down by M19 elite.
And this is exactly it. M19 made movement sooner. Liquid had nowhere to go. Running in front of Embassy, the corner where they're trying to get with Skoons and Sampty will give you tons of information within that city, because the front side of Embassy, as much as that building is coveted by everyone in public servers, it's so open considering it's closed off when you look at the entire map. It's wide open when you consider the city situation. SetToDestroyX, they've spotted out Wildcard. McCoy, he's gone from Ghost, so things aren't going well. Turtle's gonna have to be a snake. Speaking of snakes, it's Snakers that has position, but that damn wall is lined up exactly with him, and therefore he can't get an angle to finish off the Wildcard players, so Pride gets a revive. Kickstart runs back, he'll spot them again, but won't be able to do anything further toward them. FaZe has gone immediately around Wildcard, who was coming up behind, and taken up backside of the embassy. So they've transitioned early. Turtle's already spotted by Penta. Remember, he's alone, so if he wants to transition and play Snake, he's got to get far away from them. But meanwhile, look at Liquid holding that corner. Only 2 players left in this. It's Sampty and Skoom, and they're going to have to be very passive.
Definitely. And like I said, it's so important that you move early to get the center spot. But if you look at the city now, making these rotations is so hard. When you have, is it 16 teams still on this? No, it's 15 teams, I think.
Yep.
And literally all of them are in Las Leones. And getting the center positions, it limits like how much you actually have to move.
The hard part is, like, I want to say that you're going to see so much third manning, but no one's going to want to. No one's going to want to push. It's all going to be angles. This is going to be an insane final fight. In fact, I dare say we aren't going to get much more action once teams are fortified in, and it's really going to be the next shift that defines the game.
There's going to come 1 or 2 more hard shifts. And
well, engagement, Dignitas and Nova. Nova's done well, I have to say, to keep everyone alive, considering how many different teams have shot at them so far in their transitions, locking them in buildings, and they'll get toward the backside priorities. On the east, Dignitas, aware of it, don't want to engage, although Gustav has taken 1 player from Lions as they try and swing in. So 3 teams, 1 corner, and a battle for position. Lions will get away with it because Rezu can crawl back inside of the building, but Gustav's cooking up another nade to go directly through the door. He's not quite landed that.
That's always so unfortunate. For me as a player, using these grenades this early on, you want to have them for the later stages.
I'm going to throw a question at you. Is it worth 2-2ing in the city and going almost completely away from each other? Not because, look, 1 corner with 4 players is a bit congested, but also for this hard shift. FaZe is trying to keep that embassy building, to keep it as, there's your next shift, to keep it as far spread as possible. But is it almost worth it, in Dignitas' case, where they're down to 3, to send 1 player elsewhere?
Definitely. You actually pointed it out there in the end. If you're a 4-player strong, I prefer to stay together or very close together. But if you're down to 3 or 2, it probably won't make the big difference if you're 1 more in that fight. So it would make sense to maybe take the risk and say, hey, guys, I'm going to go take a building. I might die. You guys have to play it safe, but it's definitely worth it when you're down a few men. Try and find a space to hide.
More so, I think, too, because if everyone knows where you are and you're pinned, that's
and
it.
especially in Las Leones, one thing you don't think about, there's a bunch of like containers, garbage bins, trucks in the street you can actually go and hide to, and they're all around, and it's not a position that teams will play, but you can sneak into.
I'm 19 moving a little bit again, take Liquid's corner and follow in the footsteps of Skooms and Sampty. TG engaging with Knights, and Moonwolf's in the same corner of the map. That's going to be the next big fight, as Vitality's also pushing on to FaZe. So 3 different angles of the map and 3 massive fights. It's Knights that get locked off. Moonwolf again showing to be impressive in this game. Take down Krama, and he and Tex completely removed, leaving very little to work with. This is for Knights' position. You're right. It's Drayden alone. And you can't really snake in this position because they already know where he is. This is what we were talking about. Once they found your team, they know you're going to be somewhere in that corner. Moonwolf has lost Washout. He's crawling around. Meanwhile, center side, M19 firing above Liquid, who are, again, trying to stay passive, trying to stay quiet and let the fights commence around them. FaZe, they're aware of the fact that they've had people enter into their building, and Mexi's going to try and hold off the stairs. Monkey, don't be misled by that. X-Ray is not in the building. He's outside behind the corner, trying to peek around behind. It's
very confusing to watch, but yeah. They found Jemty, and now they're all just stuck in place. Nobody wants to make a move. I mean, as a player, when you see you knock a FaZe guy, you're always like, oh, if we push in here, any of their players, they can actually pull off a big 1v situation.
Penta and SetToDestroyX are in a bit of a war right now as well. And Ujir was down, knocked. They're going to try and get him inside of the smoke. Snackers has denied it, and he's got Nedger and Kaint both finished off. Braxku now has to back away from it. Last in the situation in this building, I take it back. Okay, he's got Chronix that's gone in with him. I thought they were segregated for a moment, but they'll work this together and try desperately to hold it off. Wildcard took a bit of a gamble to try and push up. Thought maybe they might third party, but they've secured themselves inside of the building along the road, and this is exactly it. Everyone's just going to keep looking for these nooks and crannies, and it's the shifts that are going to catch people out.
Mm-hmm. I assume it to go south again. I want to stand by what I say that it doesn't necessarily end in the cities. And the only outside of the city is down towards Turtle. I might be wrong, but I have a feeling it's going to go hard south.
All right, well, put your money on it.
And that means that everybody has to move, like the north side is so congested.
Shady, he's been quiet for Na'Vi, to be fair. Considering Pokemon has done so much damage, as well as Uba. Be down below and on the stairs. Pokemon already spotting, interrogate. Nova's been under fire from everyone. Shift won't go south, it won't go north, it's going to go east. Nova now has excellent positioning, despite how many times they've been forced out of their own homes, if you will. They've been evicted. Na'Vi, they're not in buildings. They're trying to get a little bit closer. Shade's the only one left inside. Okay, take it back. Tell a lie. There is one more player in the hall, but they trip over each other. Uba's down. This nade is going to force them away from it. It's going to get in the hallway. Shady's going to try and get just barely inside of the door before that nade detonates, and he will, which means Uba's brought back to life.
Penta gets taken down by SetToDestroyX.
Another good game from them. So yeah. Pentagon already. SetToDestroyX, second place in the last game. Now a team wipe this time by. Gates still in this, but have the furthest to go. Vitality and FaZe are battling as well. They've got to cross the road together. Vitality's going to shift slightly northern of that, but FaZe are going to try and let them go first and catch them in doing so. They're already halfway across the road. Two players, Monkey, Jazza, and I think Yannick's just barely going to get there with Shadow looking backwards to see if FaZe would engage. Now the question is, do they gatekeep FaZe? They knew they were in that building. You said it. They spotted Jemty.
They're running straight into Liquid. M19, they've been really proactive, and they're playing the city so well. They already left the edge of the circle and went to the center. But we need to see FaZe and Totality make them into the zone.
So smokes from FaZe, that's going to be the answer. They're trying to get far away from Vitality. It's WC who potentially could be a problem for them. Survivor, Snakers, they're going to move up. Everyone is closing in toward Liquid's position, and Scoom and Sampty, they just want to stay alive in this. So FaZe get across. Shift in the top side. Dignitas battling, but this is it. Vitality, good hold. Scoom's gone. Completely removed already. It's down to just one man remaining for Liquid, and that will be Sampty. And he'll have to snake this. He'll have to hope that nobody checks his corner.
He's doing what I said, and it looks like he's on the road. He could be in a garbage truck.
Speaking of snakes, by the way, Ghost gone. Their last player found and removed. It is going to be Dignitas that hold off the top side with Moonwolf, the next to lose a player. Everyone is down to very little to work with. The only team left with 4. Actually, I take it back. There's more than I thought. Nova's got 4. Vitality's got 4. M19 with 4. Gates have 4. There's actually more than I thought in this, considering the exchanges. So Navi's down 1 man, but Moonwolf washout. He's going to hold off and now has to be very quiet, very passive, and try desperately to cross that road, because obviously that shift is going to go away from him at some point. Exco, he's removed. Dignitas, good high ground inside of the building, and they'll hold that position.
Dignitas, they've gotten a lot of knocks this game, but it is so hard to finish off these people when you actually get a knock, because there's building, there's walls, there's cover everywhere. And that is the reason why we still have 12 teams alive, and a lot of them staying with 4 or 3 people alive. FaZe, they somehow managed to make their way around.
M19's kind of split to a 3-1 to give Batulin a bit more of an angle toward the south.
Personally, I disagree with it this late into the game, because if one of them gets knocked and they're far away from each other, you can't help in the same way. I feel like all of them should just go to Batulin.
FaZe is spotted. Haxity's going to take damage, wants to get in close, but Kickstart's already engaged on them. Surprisingly, he's going to readdress and take back Nova, who, speaking of, get the shift directly on top of him. That north side just became an absolute bloodbath. FaZe, for now, are safe. Mexi's gone away from his teammates, but they get in. Wildcard's going to shift. Rather than try and take the fight with FaZe, they want to keep 4 players alive. So Mexi has a bit of a chance to work toward Nova, but they don't need to move. They can just sit and hold that position. You did mention trucks. There is a few to that south position, but the transition's M19. They're going to go back toward Batulin. He's not going to help them in the cross, and they get cut out on the road. This is it. This is the knock you talked about. Example now knows he's got a problem to try and get Konstantinovic, and the smokes go out on top of him. Batulin, he's not even going to engage toward Lions. Liquid's gone. They found the last player. Sampty's out of it, and they go out in 12th. Liquid Mar does not go their way, and that is a door open for FaZe, who is now not only going to jump them in points on this map, but we go to Erangel next.
We didn't catch it, but Knights is also down, so that's our first and second place. And FaZe, they're really close behind. If they make a strong performance here, getting in with confidence and ending up on the first place, this could be a hell of a run from them.
You are right in saying it did shift away from the city. It just took so damn long that now everyone's got to run out from it.
Yeah.
So Wildcard have another good spot. So too M19. They can almost keep the high side. They're still looking for information down below because Na'Vi is heading in, but FaZe has spotted them. Shade taken out of it already. Rift, meanwhile, has problems down below. And FaZe refuses to give anything away in that direction. He knows they're going to be trying to get on the res, so he's hoping for some bullet drop in his favor over top of the window. Meanwhile, Yannick gets Rifts down. SetToDestroyX in problems. Rifts is away from his team. They can't do anything. They've got to leave him for dead. Mortify is going to take out Gustav. And FaZe still just continue somehow to battle their way back into the zone. And so too everyone from the north, with the exception of Washout, he's removed. Gustav gets saved by his teammate as Uncivil gets a shot. Oh, he's taken him out. That must have been a crash.
I think he just got knocked and they didn't have time to revive him because the blue is coming in. And it's something to do.
Either way, it's kickstart. Looking toward SetToDestroyX, spraying the smoke. Snackers has 2 Mai in return, so this engagement is solid because SetToDestroyX are on the outside of the circle and WC want to gatekeep. While this is going on, a massive fight to the north about to start over one corner and 4 teams. Lions heading in. They're going to get 2 down. Adam and Uncivil are gone. Dignitas is out of this in 9th place, and Vitality, looking to try and capitalize, will swing in and catch Lions in return. Monkey's on the move, and he's going to try and work his way around. Lions knows that he's there. Chris at the door, and they'll hold it off. And immediately SetToDestroy gone. They're out in 8th place. Lions get the knock and the kill immediately onto Vitality. They're gone in 7th just as quickly as that. The shift as well is going to leave Lions with M19 for company. Nova still inside of it, and FaZe spread out are actually going to leave Haxity to really work on his own in this situation. The best they can do now is hold off Na'Vi, who are a threat in the overall standings.
This is actually crazy. We have 6 teams. All of these teams have 3 or more alive. This is something we don't get to see a lot.
Is that going to get inside the garage? Not quite. It rolled slightly to the right. That would have been shady in a massive world of problems. Remember, Na'Vi has to cross that space. A perfect way to look at it. They're using the nades to try and force them out. Fuzzface just prone behind the slight ridge he has to work with, but as soon as they step out, he's going to stand up. I would have suspected that Mexi was going to give more support to it. Shade's got the shot from range. Mexi's now knocked. Fuzzface can't move. He can't go toward it because Nova's over top of them, and Shady got the kill. FaZe down to just 2.
Yeah, and Fuzz and like said it, they don't really have cover. They need to avoid this. We see Lions, they're pushing onto.
This is what I was going to say. This is where FaZe has to be careful with Fuzzface holding on that position. What a job by him. He was waiting for them to push the whole time, but in solo position, he manages to get the kill. Navi's gone. FaZe continue to climb up in the standings with 5 teams left. They've made a top 5 on Miramar. Sharp shot, by the way. He's still sitting and waiting with the SLR, trying to just fire out. And Nova's been quiet in all this. Remember that as Lions are now gone. Nova's got 4 players still up and inside perfect position. As Wildcard now has to hold the backside. M19's going to try a massive transition in behind them.
Fuzz got no gun to interrogate.
Look at the amount of smokes. M19 won close. Wildcard's aware of it. They're going to swing back out. Good hold. And it's immediately a lead player gone. M19 getting picked out entirely in the open. Down to 2 knocks. They've got to try and get Eximple much closer. Otherwise, they're completely gone, and he's left in the open. Wildcard with 1 man down already. Haxity is going to sit back and try and snake it. Meanwhile, Fuzzface, the king of snaking, is left on his own. Ooh, touched by the blue inappropriately. But he'll sit inside of the garage. Doesn't want to commit to the heal just yet. He'll go for it. Loss is above. This is Nova suddenly flushed out by 1 man sneaking in, and it's Batulin, excuse me, that wants to cross the road. He's got there, but knocked in the end by Pride. WC are an absolute perfect position. Forget circles, it's a constant shift. The blue will enclose on all of this. And Fuzzface behind them, waiting for distractions. Can he repeat what he did on day 1?
It's FaZe versus Wildcard, 4v2. And to me, he's almost in the center. Wildcard, they have the biggest advantage here. I want to see Xedi open this up from the side, get a knocker 2, and then one first phase to finish it out.
And you're right, Xedi is the key to this.
Fuzz gets spotted first.
Well, that's fine, though, because I almost think that with Fuzz getting spotted, unfortunately going down without much of a fight, it meant that they didn't know where Xedi was. It's his turn to be the hero. 1 versus 4 for FaZe. He'll peek out, find one, they nearly line it up, but Pride gets the shot in return, and it's Wildcard with back-to-back wins on Miramar.
Yeah, Wildcard actually played it so well towards the end. One thing I want to